Hello and welcome to the April meeting of the Portland Modern Quilt Guild. Please make sure to mute your audio and turn off your video. And I just wanted to remind everybody that closed captioning is available. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you will see a little CC. If you click on that, the closed captionings should come up. If you're having any issues with those, make sure to just pop into the chat that you are having issues. And we will get started. Please remember to mute.
Yeah, do something.
Okay, next slide, Erin. So I'd like to start while everybody's settling in by thanking our business sponsors. We'd like to thank Modern Domestic, Bolt, Aloha Sewing and Back, and Montevilla Sewing. So thanks for being a sponsor. And I am also going to do the program's preview so that you guys know what's coming up for the next 2 months. So in May, we will be welcoming Pantera St. Montaigne. She will be delivering a presentation on May 20th at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Her workshop will be on block printing, and that will take place May 22nd via Zoom. And scholarships are now open, and the workshop will go on sale to members April 19th. And in June, we will be welcoming the Quilt Buzz podcast. So it will be Anna Brown, Wendy Chow, and Amanda Carey, and they have a guest speaker lined up for us. We don't know who it is yet. It's a surprise. So I don't even know who it is, to tell you the truth. So it should be fun though. And that's taking place June 17th. And since they're on the East Coast, it's going to take place at 5 p.m. Pacific time. However, it will be recorded because, you know, obviously it's a podcast. So if you're not able to make it, you will be able to watch or listen to the recording. And Amanda will be presenting a workshop on June 19th about quilt embroidery. So if you see that little picture, that's an example of her quilt embroidery. So it's using embroidery stitches in place of quilting. So that should be fun. And the scholarships for that workshop will open on May 10th, and it will go on sale on May 17th. And with that, I would like to have Susan unmute. She is going to present our featured speaker tonight, Tara Fawnin. Questions while everybody's typing them in. Do you have a favorite color or a least favorite color to work with?
Yeah, I have the least favorite. It's the Sailor Blue. We've never been able to make nice. I had to use it all the time with Michael Miller. And it's fine if you put it with dark gray, was in all of our boy prints, it's fine. But when I try to put it into my own quilts, it's like gives me the heebie-jeebies. And a favorite color is magenta. It still hasn't changed.
So how long has that been your favorite color?
Oh, like 10 years. Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the Color Collective?
So it's like it runs every year for 6 months, 7 months with a guest person. Latifa Safir is our guest designer, and she's coming up next month. But so it runs for 6 to 7 months, once a year. And so it will be open up again in the fall or winter. I'm not quite sure what the future looks like if we're going to rerun an older season, because like many of you, we've all been running around like chickens with their heads cut off this year. And so we really need to pause and kind of go forward a little bit more of a coherent plan. So we're not quite sure what the Color Collective will look like, but there will be another season.
Okay, great. I'm a member and I love it.
Oh, okay, great.
I haven't actually made anything, but
Chris, you're right. I do know your name.
Yeah,
I know your name. Yes. Okay, it's all coming together.
No, I also took your color interaction class earlier on in the when you started offering classes, and
and
it changed my life. Like seriously, I'm putting colors together that I never would have.
That was my goal. You know, when I came up with this idea, and I was like, what do I have to offer that might be exciting? I was like, well, it's obviously color, but one thing that I learned in the way that I was forced to learn how to use color was by using colors that I didn't like. You know, it really allows you to stop being judgmental about the color and see it from a design sense and make nice with ugly colors, or colors that you think are ugly, because it always changes. And that keeps it exciting. And the other thing is that I learned how to quilt from Quilters newsletter magazines, cover to cover. I'd read them over and over, and I knew all the techniques. So when I finally like wanted to do something, whether it be applique or anything else, I knew 5 different ways to applique. And so that's really important to me too, to like teach techniques, because the more techniques you have in your toolbox, the more, you know, there might be a certain technique that will help you achieve your goal better than a different technique for every quilt.
And then I was going to ask, so your workshops sold out extremely fast. And are you're offering workshops on your own?
Yeah, so I do workshops with Quilts, and then I also do workshops on my own platform. And I do, I'm seeing Angie, I don't know how has just spied your comment, Angie. Oh, Tara, I do lots of ugly. That cracks me up. Sorry, I got distracted. But I offer classes on my own platform, and how I generally do it is run a class for a month or two until I get bored or people get bored. And then I move on and do the next class for a month or two. And then I just did some on-demand classes too, which was really exciting because after QuiltCon, I learned that certain things should be learned on demand. And one of them is freezer paper, because it's a highly technical technique, and you can rewind it. And I realized, you know, I thought of on demand as, I don't know how many of you guys did QuiltCon, but when I first heard that it was on demand, I was like, oh, darn. But then I've been teaching freezer paper for as long as I've been teaching, which has only been about 4 or 5 years. But every time I teach it, it's like a hair pulling experience for everyone, because you just have to get over the learning curve, you know? And then so during the Q&A at QuiltCon for the freezer paper class, people came in. I was like, okay, so have at it. What's your questions? And everybody's like, oh, it's really clear. I don't have any questions. It's like my head exploded. I was like, oh, why was it so clear? Oh, because I could rewind and rewatch it until the light bulb went off. It's like, oh, so I realized some classes will be on demand, and that's just a great way to learn. But mostly I like to do the live classes.
Yeah, the live classes are great. And I'll have to check out the on-demand classes too. Sailor wants to know, she says, can you say something about your choice to not use prints? And does it have to do with working at a fabric company?
Yes.
On print fabrics, I guess your day job. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I used, you know, I always combined prints and solids and blenders, but before I became a textile designer, sometime during the years when I was in school for about 2 or 3 years, I switched from using prints to solids without realizing it. And then I just never looked back, because every time I would get out of print, I would start, you know, deconstructing the print and looking at the design. It just was very distracting for me. But I do love prints, and I'd like to get back to them. All of my prints are really dated. They're in boxes in the big.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you have any prints in your stash?
No, but I really want them. But it's the daunting task of creating a whole new stash. So I need to buy more shelves, because I'm a maximalist. I'm not one of those like, oh, we should, you know, try to scale back our fabric stash. I'm like, no, I just need more shelves. So once I get more shelves, then I can buy more fabric. But until then.
Sure. Do you have any advice for somebody that is looking to start a stash of solids?
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. Buy fat quarters to start with, because you don't know what you're going to like. Buy charm packs, because it introduces you to certain colors. And if you want, then you can always go and order yardage of a color that you like, as long as you have the color card. But the best advice is advice that I read in Quilters newsletter, which is seriously, like, if you can ever get your hands on the old Quilters newsletters from like the 70s through the 80s, gold mines of information. But the best advice was to, when you go to the fabric store, when we can again, for those of us who can't, go to your favorite color. And if it's aqua, it's going to be like a medium, probably mid-tone something or other, right? But go to your favorite color, because you know that color, and you can buy some of that color, because I always feel a little insecure that I might not have that color, and it turns out that I have like 3 yards of it. But go to that color and then pick colors from the right and left. So not only are you going to start to get lighter and darker values, but you might go from aqua to like a more green to a more, you know, royal blue, you know, whatever it is. But identify your favorite, pick to the right and left. Because I'll tell you something that's really interesting is that, for the most part, people are filled with medium value fabric stashes. That if you look at your fabric stash, it's mostly going to be medium value. And it's like this weird feedback cycle between the manufacturers, the consumers, and the shops. And so, working in-house, we would make all kinds of different backgrounds for fabrics. Forest green, pale, whatever, all kinds of colors. But what always sold was aqua, coral, gray, navy. And the reason why is because shops want to go for the thing that they know is going to sell. They don't want the outlier, because then they're going to get stuck with it. And so shops go for the best sellers, and they're always generally medium value or like aqua, navy, gray. And then the consumers are so used to seeing those medium values that they just want more of it because that's their comfort zone, because they're not used to playing with the light and the dark values. And then it just creates this vicious feedback. And I really do think that if we, well, I'm not even going to say that, but it is an interesting cycle to observe.
We need to start buying some, lighter value fabrics.
And darker.
And darker, yeah. Okay, so Michelle wants to know what led you into textile design.
Well, naively, I wanted to become a quilt fabric designer. And so I didn't know that there were no fabric companies in the Bay Area in California. And I'm really glad I didn't know, because I would never have gone to school. It was this vocational school. And I happened to so Michael Miller had an art studio out in California with 3 people before I came. And then the rest of the business was in New York. And I just happened through networking to get a job there. It was meant to be. So I had one of the only 3 jobs in the Bay Area in a quilt fabric studio. And sadly, when my boss retired, she sold her half, and that studio shut down a couple of years ago. So now I work for Riley Blake in-house, but I also do stuff for Pottery Barn Kids in-house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Elaine wants to know, what's the name of the magazine you learned to quilt from?
Oh, Quilters Newsletter. And surprisingly, also American Quilter Society, the Paducah people back in the day, their early magazines were really, really incredible as well. Like amazing articles, a lot of history in those magazines. So if you can get hands on back issues of either of those on eBay or Etsy, sometimes we'll have them. They're great magazines. Highly recommend them.
Marcy wants to know, which fabric do you use the most? I think she's wondering what brand of solids.
Oh, well, I'm partial to Michael Miller, but that's because of the colors that I love and know and helped create. But I like them all. I like all the manufacturers, and I love Kona for its tooth, right? It's like really thick. And then I love Michael Miller for its finer qualities. And Moda has more dusty colors, and Kona has brighter colors, and Paintbrush Studio, they have this whole line of stuff that's not even their regular cottons. It's like these other cottons that you have to like special order a color card for. They're one of my favorites because they're the weirdest colors. They've been the same colors since the 80s, and they're just bizarre. So I think that the more manufacturers you use, the better spread and the more interest you get. Like if you only stay with Kona, and I know Kona is super popular, and that's what most quilt shops carry because it is super popular, right? It's like that never-ending feedback cycle. But if you branch out to the other manufacturers, you're going to get a really wide breadth and wonderful subtle differences. So
let's see, Rachel, she's taking the Galactic workshop, and she wants to know, do we need to know the freezer paper methods for that workshop?
No, you're going to learn all you need to know.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. What I do with freezer paper in that workshop is a little bit different. We use it as, you'll see, but it's different than using it as a piecing foundation.
And then somebody else wanted to know if they needed all solids for your workshops this weekend.
No. Yeah, well, for the color, yes, actually, see, I get so excited. I'm like, yeah, whatever. No, actually, you do. For the color interaction class, you really do. You're going to get the most out of it if you have solid scraps for the color exercises. When it goes to sewing the quilt, you can absolutely do whatever you want. Prints, solids, combo, but it's really hard to see how colors interact if you're playing with a print, because prints has lots of colors in it. So you'll get the most out of the class by using solids. If you have colored paper, anything like that, that's fine. But the Galactic, it doesn't matter, whatever you want, prints, solids. And with the bars quilt itself, prints, solids, whatever.
let's see. I'm wondering, you showed your little doodles and whatnot. How do you organize all of that? How do you organize your ideas as far as like you see something and you're like, oh, that would be really cool. I need to explore that. What
I
do you
wish I could
do?
say that I had some kind of system, but there is none. It can be very frustrating. I keep notes on my phone. That's what I found to actually finally be the most convenient. I used to try to keep, quilt journals or like but I have like 10 of these and then I lose them and then I don't know where the current one is, but I always know where my phone is. So I keep a lot of notes on my phone with doodles or and then yeah, like now if I have an inspiration picture, I've been trying to email it, to email it to my computer and at least put it into the folder that says log cabin stuff, all sorts. You know what I'm saying? But I've never had a good organization system. And that's fine because when an idea is exciting to you, sometimes I've made up a quilt and then realized that I had, have a picture of something that I did from 10 years ago that never went forward, but that was the exact same thing.
Hmm.
So, if an idea is exciting to you, you'll come back to it.
Okay. So are you having a hard time with needing to keep things tidy and being on the fly creative? I mean, I'm personally, I'm struggling to right now. I'm trying to tidy things up and it's a disaster.
No, I work best in a disaster. So the fact that my studio is so clean all the time now, it's hard because I work best in a disaster. That's where I thrive.
I'm the same way.
Don't change.
Yeah, no, and it's hard because and then I can't find what I cleaned, and I'm like, oh,
Yep.
I knew where it was when it was messy.
Yeah, it was right there. Always, all of it. All of it was just right there. You could see it all, touch it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably because I stepped over it, 10 times a day. Does anybody else have any last questions before we wrap up for the evening? I think that is all. Thank you so much, Tara.
Okay, well, thanks you guys. I'm so sorry about the snafu earlier. Who knows what the heck happened with my computer. She's pretty new, but she was like, oh, I'm done. I'm done. So I'm sorry for that interruption earlier, and I appreciate you guys hanging in there with it. And I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna head off, you guys, because I got dinner waiting for me. So thanks again, and I'll see you all. Well, I'll see some of you this weekend.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, you guys.
Okay. So let's see. I wanted to talk about Sisters. So the Sisters 46th Annual Outdoor Quilt Show is coming up. And as most of you know, it is the largest outdoor quilt show, I believe, in the world. So, and the Portland Modern Quilt Guild has a special exhibit there. And our theme this year is Renewal, which also aligns with the Sisters theme. Their theme as well is Renewal. Our submissions are now open, and it's opened until April 30th. So please visit the submission form on the Sisters page under the Get Involved tab. And I have put together another couple of ideas to kind of get your heads thinking about, do I have a quilt that could align with this renewal? So if I show your quilt here, you better submit it, please. So renewal, one idea is, so the MQG had this modern classic thing this last year for QuiltCon Together. And I know that Anne Marie had made this Jawbreaker quilt. So this was basically taking an old MQG block or block of the month or quilt pattern and remaking it in what they called their, modern classic colors. So this could be a form of renewal. A Scrappy quilt could be a renewal quilt. And this Cafe Crumb quilt block, I mean, first of all, Cafe, like the colors are just fantastic. And then, anything to do with scraps, you're renewing your scraps, which I think would be wonderful. A rainbow quilt, whenever I think of renewal, I kind of think of rainbows. So a really bright fun rainbow quilt would be really nice. So Jill, you should submit this one. Anything floral. I think of spring when I think of Renewal. So this nice floral quilt. I mean, the quilting on it is fantastic. And this one's by Cheryl. And I think that this would be a great quilt to hang at Sisters. Okay, so is Anne available?
I am, yes.
Retreat.
Hello, Portland Modern Quilt Guild. My name is Ann Nelson, and I have been working with Jenny McKee. As many of you know, I am a new member, and she's an older member of the Guild, and we have been putting together an online virtual retreat for you. So why would I want to go talk on Zoom with a bunch of strangers all weekend? Well, I'll tell you. We'd love to invite you to take a weekend for yourself. You'll have plenty of open sewing time for yourself. You can work on the projects of your choice. And if that doesn't float your boat, we actually have some projects planned. We've got a couple of tutorials that you'll walk away with some finished projects from. A couple of guest speakers. Iris from Modern Domestic is going to come teach us how to keep our machines in top working order between services. And Christina Camelli, our own guild member, is going to come give us a talk as well on Sunday morning. Some other thing, we're going to do a little bit of improv projects. We might end up with things like this. Who knows about prizes and fun things that might come in your little packet, but we do have a lot of fun things planned. Again, if you decide, we have a schedule all outlined, and you know, at 6 o'clock, we're going to do this. If you decide, that's not for me, you're welcome to just go into a private room with your friends and go visit with them. Speaking of friends, you can invite your friends. They don't have to be PMQG members to come to the quilt retreat. They just need to add that extra $10 onto their registration. There are a very few spots left, and I would suggest, since I am mailing out packets tomorrow to go out and get there by next week, that you get your registration in tonight. If I miss the mailing, I will do my best to get it in your hands by the time the quilt retreat starts next Friday. But if by any chance we don't meet that deadline, then I do have everything available online as well. It just won't be as fun. We've got some charity block projects. We've got, like I said, some improv, and then another little secret project as sort of a little keepsake from the whole virtual retreat. You can do your own thing again. Come join us if you want to. Bring a friend. Pull out this. This is my black and white stash that I got out to work on one of the projects. So, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of fun in store. It's $35 to attend for the full weekend. Friday evening, we kick off at 6:30, and we end Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock when it sort of rolls into the, I forget what it's called, the Sunday afternoon group anyway. So unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have.
Yes, if anybody has any questions, if they could type them into the chat box, and then maybe Lori wants to know what the dates are again.
The dates, Friday evening, we start April 23rd, and it's the 24th as well, and then the 25th, and we get done about 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. So not this coming weekend, but the following.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the free table is this weekend in Hillsborough, and we're actually looking for another host. So I believe the last month that the free table will be in Hillsborough is in May. So if you would like to host, please email us for more information. If we don't get a host, then unfortunately we won't be able to have a free table. So please volunteer to host. Okay, and oh, it looks like, okay, sorry. Let's see. So Charity Sew drop off and pickup is coming up on April 24th from 10 to 1. The address can be found in the members only section of the website. I will say that I was there last time and there were quilt kits to be picked up. So this is a picture of a quilt kit that was completed into a quilt top and dropped off to Kath. And there's wonky star blocks. And let's see, there's binding if you would like to do binding. There is quilting. So there's both long arm quilting, so everything that you need for that. Well, minus the thread, I should say. And then there is also quilts that are already sandwiched and basted, and all you have to do is quilt it up on your domestic machine. And the kids at Dornbecker will not judge your quilting skills. They will not judge your binding skills. So if you need practice, this is a good place to come. And also, I'd like to remind everybody that we will not be accepting free table drop-offs. The free table and charity sew are happening on different weekends, so it makes it a mess for whoever is the last person at charity sew to have to store everything for the free table. So thank you. And speaking of wonky stars, there is a tutorial. So if you are wanting to learn how to make a wonky star and don't know how, and you've picked up one of the kits from Kath, you can watch the tutorial on how to do it. So make sure to subscribe to the PMQG YouTube channel, and you will be able to see this video along with the business portion of our meetings. Charity zipper bags, there's still kits available. Drop off and pick up can occur on Mondays, but please text before coming. The address is in the members only section. They are also requesting zippers, gallon size freezer bags, and fabric that's a half yard or more. Sunday, this small group, the Zoom link has changed again since the Guild has a workshop on Sunday. So make sure that you get the new link that is in the members only section. And volunteers. So we currently need a volunteer coordinator. And so the last time I talked about this, I didn't really exactly say what you would need to do. So this would be a great job for somebody who might not even be local to the Portland area. So basically what you would need to do is just manage a spreadsheet of available volunteers and which jobs they kind of want to do. You would need to answer emails regarding volunteering. So if somebody, says, oh, I want to volunteer to, for example, do the free table. How do I find out about that? We would forward that information on to you, and we would kind of help you navigate that. And then you would also need to check in with the free table and charity sew programs via email, just asking, hey, do you need anything? How are things going? Do you need help? Do you need me to find somebody to help you with something? So, and I will say volunteering is a really good way to get to know your fellow guild members, especially now when we can't even meet face to face. So with that, I would like to welcome Nancy Stovall of Just Quilting. She is our business member spotlight this month. So Nancy, if you are here.
I'm here. Hi. Hi, it's really great to be here with all of you guys. And I just want to thank the Guild for letting the business members have a few minutes to talk about what we do. I'm a long arm quilter, and I have a little studio in Southeast Portland, and it has been quite a year. I know you guys have been busy because I've been busy. So, but anyway, since I haven't been able to really host anybody in the studio, Matthew, my husband, who is the Guild's the Guild's photographer, he and I created a little video to show you kind of what goes on in my studio. So Erin is gonna take over and play that for me. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. We had fun making it.
That was so awesome. Thank you, Nancy. That was great.
Thanks. We had a lot of fun making it.
Okay, so we have a couple of classified ads that have come in. So there is a fabric sale to benefit the Trinity Lutheran Scholarship Fund. So the woman that wrote in, her grandmother had passed away, and the Trinity Lutheran School was very near and dear to her grandmother's heart. So they are selling off her stash, and it's basically bring your own paper grocery bag and fill it for $5. There's lots of coordinating fabrics and everything like that. And this is happening May 15th and 16th from 10 to 4. And they may possibly have it another weekend if not everything sells out. So the address and all of the information is now on the website. There's a new tab called Classified Ads, so you can find that information there. And the next classified ad was for a job with a local business. And basically they are looking for an office assistant, and it is a part-time position. And if you are interested in that, there is an email contact in there's a lot of information to the ad. So if you want to read every little detail, you can take a look at the classified ad on our website. And we have a new block of the month, or we have a new block for the block of the month this month. And just to remind everybody, if you are new to joining us, we are stitching along with Tara Evans of Tara Lee Quiltery. She has designed our block of the month for the year. And if you use the coupon code PMQG2021 on her website, you will be able to receive the block of the month patterns emailed directly to you every month for $10. So it's $10 for the year. And if you post your progress using these listed hashtags, at the end of the year, we will be awarding a prize in December to one of the participants who has posted. And with that, I believe that Becky will be talking about this block. So Becky, if you're here, and you can unmute.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So hi, everybody. This Crimes Against Humanity was a pretty big topic. So I apologize, but there are 4 slides rather than just the one in order to give it its due. So go ahead, Chris, the next slide. So what I did first was a little bit of research about, where does this term really come from? And I was surprised to find out that in terms of international law, the term international law itself was actually used in the Roman legal system, which I had no idea. So as far back as, Roman society, this concept of, hey, all of us nations more or less agree to some sort of code of conduct was kind of mind-blowing for me. I thought that was pretty neat. And then when you come forward into the late 1700s, early 1800s, is when the first time that the phrase crimes against humanity is actually documented. And it was used to describe atrocities such as slavery and a lot of other things that were going on at the time. There's another slide in here that has more information on it. So I just kind of wanted to give you an overview on this timeline path here. And then with the advent of World War I, the Allies declared crimes against humanity for a specific category of international crimes. And then, of course, many of us know about the Nuremberg Charter in 1945, where crimes against humanity appears in a treaty for the very first time. But I just think it's important to note that the history of this goes beyond, way before World War II. And then in 1998 is when the whole thing was truly codified. What does it really mean? What crimes count? And how do we, in an international venue, think about these things? Go ahead, Chris. So this slide just completely details out everything that the Rome Statute codified as crimes against humanity. None of these things will come as a surprise, but it really did enumerate in very specific terms what this thing really means. Go ahead, Chris. So in thinking about this and doing this research, what I came to learn is that our own administration has culpability for some crimes against humanity. And in this slide here, I'm not even detailing everything that I uncovered. But according to these different organizations and publications here on the left, American Federation of Teachers, the Global Justice Center, and so forth, there are quite a few things that our past US administration could be held culpable and responsible for. The two main things here are our own coronavirus response. Our prior administration actually thought that if they kind of let it run its course, it would actually only impact a certain specific segment of the population. And that really does fall to prosecution of genocide with intent. And I was shocked to find out that that had actually occurred. The other thing that falls under crimes against humanity that's on this slide is the US zero tolerance policy in the prior administration. And this was about the activities at the border, locking up children in cages and things of that nature. So there's more information here on this slide. And then Chris, on the last slide, there are some additional links if you'd like to do some of your own reading about this. I hope that this was helpful and informational for you all. It was certainly eye-opening for me as I did the research.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, so up next we have show and tell. So Tamara, are you here?
Hi, I'm here. Yes.
You are.
Becky, thanks for doing all that research, and that was really interesting and enlightening, and I really appreciate that. So this quilt is called the Reading Star Quilt, and it's a quilt that I made to donate to Smart Reading here in Oregon, which is an organization that helps the children who are most at risk of falling behind in school from pre-K through third grade, learn to read and develop a love for books. And they do that by, in the before times, having volunteers come into the schools and read with the kids, and giving the kids brand new books that they get to choose themselves. And they have made a super impressive pivot to digital learning with the kids. They have, they've recorded, people reading stories, and they have this whole digital library. And they've also given away, I can't even remember how many books it was, like just a huge number of books during the school year while kids have been doing distance learning. So one of the ways they raise money is through law offices, and I work in a law office, and the campaign is called Lawyers for Literacy. So I made this quilt, and we're auctioning it off. The only thing, you have to be in Oregon when you buy the ticket because of Oregon raffle rules. So that's kind of a bummer. But other than that, no restrictions. If you go to my Instagram account, which is there on the screen at me, Tamarama, it's in my profile. You can see more pictures of the quilt, and you can click on a link to buy raffle tickets. The raffle is going to be held next Monday, and the last day to buy raffle tickets is tomorrow, Friday, until 8:30. So thank you very much for letting me talk about it.
Thank you. And also it was in the Guild's Instagram feed as well. So
Yes, and I forgot to say it's 62 by 72. So it's the perfect size to curl up with on a cold evening, which will come.
yes. Okay.
Hi, this is Amy James speaking, and I commented in the chat, but we need to stop and talk about that block before we move on to show and tell.
Okay. Sure. What did you want to talk about?
We need to, I think it's the designer in the group, to talk about why that symbol was chosen for that.
Sure, yeah. So I went with the handprint just because I tried to go, well, along with all of the blocks, I tried to be as universal as possible, but then I also try to give people the opportunity to tailor it to whatever specific topic or sector or certain population or whatever they're connected to. And so it's the same thing with this block. This block, it can be tailored towards crimes that have to do with race. It could be tailored towards issues of religious violence, family violence. It could be tailored towards political unrest, refugees, so many different sectors that you can kind of, or you can keep it as generic as I did here. Yeah, so it's totally up to you what if there's a certain cause that you're deeply passionate about, or maybe that's affected you personally, then you can kind of think about colors that represent that, or yeah, so that's kind of the vision behind the block.
Okay. And Tara, you're in Canada too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so what people may not be as aware of is that in Canada, this is a very distinct symbol that is used for a very distinct and unacknowledged a lot of the time series of crimes. And I think that there's a responsibility for us as a guild that is, you know, primarily white people to know that before we make blocks that have a red handprint on them. Because this is the symbolism for the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
Yeah, so the red handprint one, that's actually that's not the block that I made. That was just a sample from someone here in the guild that they personally made for their quilt top.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that for any kind of symbol that we are going to be using in it, we should be able to, we should know that there's like, oh, maybe you don't use this one in this color unless you know what it means. So that might be something to include in information for the next one, because honestly, it was really quite shocking or surprising for me to hear all the information that was researched about this and then not have any mention at all after that block was shown.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not sure the maker of that block. I'm not sure if that was her intention, if she has a personal connection to that cause, or if that's something that she cares deeply about and has researched. I'm not sure. I think they just wanted to show an example of one that was completed by one of the members.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I'm just suggesting that perhaps in the pattern itself, there should be more of an explanation that this is a symbol that is used for a specific group that is oppressed and marginalized and is murdered, as opposed to like, this is a generic symbol and you can use whatever color you want, but you should be aware that this is what the red color would mean if you use it, is what I'm suggesting.
Oh, I see. The red on black.
Red handprint in generally, but yes, red on black, especially especially on the West Coast, where Coast Salish colors tend to be red and black.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I will definitely add that to the little information on the back of the pattern. That's
Okay.
good to know.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, so this is my quilt that I made as part of a bee when I was living in Ireland. I made the center, and then my bee mates added on all of the different borders. So there's that one. And then the other quilt that I submitted to show and tell was the Juggle Quilt, which is part of a Craftsy class I took a million years ago. And it's a design by Camille Ross Kelly.
So Anne.
Hey, thanks. I was really excited to see my quilt in that little section on sisters. I was surprised to see my crumb quilt there. I have shown a couple of pictures of bags that I've been making. I've been frustrated during the pandemic because I've made probably 20 quilt tops, but I haven't finished anything. So I was kind of itching to actually finish something about a month and a half ago. So I got into my sewing room when I just started pulling out scraps and some crumb piecing and just started putting things together and piecing them together until I got a size of a panel. And I thought, oh, that's about the size of a bag. So I decided to make a bag. And I called it a Franken bag because it's made from spare parts. It's all, it's orphan blocks and just crumb piecing that I had and just scraps of material. And it's quilted on my domestic machine. It's lined and it has a pocket in it. And I've had a lot of fun making these. And actually I have a lot of people, I've made a couple of tutorials on how to do the panels and how to make the bag. And it's just been really fun to actually make something that's not very, very rigid and rules, and just actually finish some things after a year of not finishing anything. I kind of have a recent obsession with crumb piecing and border collies.
Oh, so this is my quilt. This is Bright Journey. The pattern is by Christina Camelli. And I quilted this and recently gifted it to a very special teacher that really was there for my son when we first went to distance learning. He had a really hard time with Zoom, and she took a lot of time to make sure that he was getting all the information that he needed. So I gifted her this quilt. So Susan.
There we are. Okay. Sorry. This quilt was made, let's see, it was a block of the month thing with stitched in color. It was a kit, or a subscription thing, and you got 5 or 6 blocks every month, and they had to do with Dutch themes. And my son and his family live in Amsterdam, and of course I can't see them, so this was kind of a way of being with them without being with them. It's mostly fabric that I picked up over there, or and there's a lot of little family in jokes in it, and it was just a fun thing to do for the last year, and I'm glad I'm done with it.
I thought by those tulips.
Hi, this is my Patchwork City, and I made this following Elizabeth Hartman's book. I made every single one of the blocks that were in the book, and I found all the 25 different shades of Kona, and then I found cotton and steel that matched each one and used a lot of their black and white prints. And it was very, very fun to do. I ended up paper piecing a lot of them rather than finicky piecing. And Kazumi finished it off lovelily quilting it. Thanks.
So Angel, are you here?
Hey, so I finally submitted something to show and tell. Excited about that. This is a matchstick quilting class that I took at QuiltCon Together. It was taught by Cassandra Beaver. And when I saw a similar quilt that she did like this in a previous QuiltCon, I fell in love with it. So I was really, really excited to take her class. But I actually matchstick that back quarter to death and trimmed it up and finished it and faced it for the first time. I've never done that before. And I used my PMQG free label to label it. And I used the video that you guys saved and put up on YouTube. So Susan, thank you for all the great tips on how to fill one of those out because I use those. And I'm just super, super happy, and I have it hanging up in my sewing room.
Thank you. Lori.
Yeah. I wanted to try to use monofilament thread. I'd never done that before. And I saw this Timna Tara's quilt with eggs. And that was an applique style I'd never done before. So I made this small quilt. It's just 15 by 12. So I could try those techniques out. And while I was making it, my granddaughter said, I like your eggs, but where's the chicken? And I said, well, I don't have a chicken. And she said, well, I'll draw you one. And so she went in and drew the chicken and then presented it to me and said, here, now you can put this on the quilt. So I figured out a way to add her chicken to this, just small piece that was intended just to be a practice. And anyway, but she's very proud of that, the fact that her chicken is also on this quilt.
That's really cute. Thank you. Kimberly, tell us about your jacket.
Hello, I'm wearing it. Ooh.
Nice.
Okay, so I made this for the bomber jacket class that we had the workshop with Sandra Johnson. And so I initially I wanted to make it whole cloth, but then I decided to add a few strips. The quilting pattern is by Carly Porter. She does this technique she calls graffiti quilting. So yeah, I just kind of did it in rows, and then I placed the pattern at an angle, which was something that Sandra suggested, which I hadn't thought I was going to just line them all up even. But I really love the way it made these angles on it. So I will be making another one for my husband.
It's beautiful.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm not sure if Marcy is here. I didn't see her in the list. So if you're here, Marcy, could you unmute and tell us about your quilt?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There you are. I don't know why I didn't see you.
No, I don't have a. I really like the teardrop drop shape with the helper quilt and the cross. And so I just wanted to perfect the teardrop shape. And this is ice dye and scrap, and it was just a lot of fun to make.
It's great. I love it. Okay. And that is the end of our show and tell and the end of our evening. So thank you for joining us. And I have summarized a few important dates that are coming up. Our next meeting is May 20th at 7 p.m. Pacific time with Pantera St. Montaigne. And she will be presenting a workshop on block printing on April 19th. And it goes on sale on April 19th, I'm sorry. It is on that weekend in May. The scholarships are now open though, and you can find out information on that on our website. The sisters deadline is April 30th. We would really like to have completed quilts submitted this year. And the free table is April 22nd and 23rd, and charity quilts is April 24th. And the next slide, we have another workshop coming up with Amanda Carey, which is quilt broidery. The workshop will be on June 19th with scholarships opening May 10th. It'll go on sale on May 17th. The spring retreat is April 23rd through 25th. We have some small groups meeting. Tomorrow will be the Queer Quilters small group. And on Sunday is the Sunday small group, and anybody is welcome to join in on the Sunday small group. They're a nice little group of people. And the Block of the Month small group, if you are participating in the Block of the Month and would like to discuss more about the blocks, either the new ones or some of the old ones, this is a great place to get involved. And that is happening on May 7th. And Quilter Filter will be on May 13th. So thank you. And if people want to stick around afterwards to chat, we can leave the meeting open. Or thank you for joining us.